And you cannot do this adequately. You can't do it justice adequately, either for the audience or for yourself, if you just converted a year or two ago. And I get it, young dudes want to, debate the theology. I was the exact same way in my 20s. But as I would tell myself in my 20s, dude, you don't know anything. You're not at the point yet where you actually get what's going on in these disputes. Okay, I've been reading Orthodox theology, Eastern Church Fathers since 2007. I've been reading Latin Church Fathers since 2001. Okay, so again, I've been at this for 25, 26 years. By the way, I don't claim to be a patristic scholar. This is something the Muslims are creating, this like puffed up persona of everyone else that they debate, so that it sounds like, brother, I have taken down the greatest of Christians. This is the Christian great scholar. No. I have a degree in philosophy. I almost have a master's in philosophy. I have ABT, that's all but thesis, right? I do not have a degree in patristics. I don't have a degree in church history. I have read a lot of this church father set, and there's a whole other row over this row that you can't see. This is all Orthodox theology. This is all Orthodox theology. All of that whole entire shelf over there is all Roman Catholic theology. There's the Summa. It's very marked up. Okay. So I know these materials very well. I'm not even claiming to be a scholar on these subjects. And somebody said, well, what counts as a scholar? Duh. If you have a degree, an advanced degree in these subject matters, that counts as a scholar. I don't claim to, never claim to. Do you even see me claiming to be an apologist? Maybe once or twice ever. I just say I'm an internet person. That's fine. So the Muslims need me to be the expert of church fathers. I'm not the expert of church fathers. I don't even know who that would be, but I mean, Dr. Bo Branson has a PhD in the Cappadocians. He would be obviously an expert in patristics, specifically the Cappadocians. So yeah, there you go. And by the way, if you want to have a serious exchange, you can have an exchange with him. And I'll give props to Jake as well, because Jake has had those debates and discussions with Dr. Bo Branson. I don't believe Jake won those debates, or that. I don't know if they had more than. I know they had one. I don't know if they had two or three or not. But regardless, at least he's willing to do that. And pretty much the rest of the Roman Catholics, like, they don't want to do that. They don't want to talk to Dr. Branson. I'm happy to talk to him. It's fine. But the last time we tried this with Wagner, as you guys saw, it turned into this thing where I got booted after 5 minutes, and that was supposed to be an own, and it was just ridiculous, a waste of time. And then with those guys, it was like, well, obviously you can't debate the Filioque because you don't want to allow us to find Thomistic terminology in the Cappadocians and Thomistic ideas. And then again, they went to relative opposition, which is not relations of opposition, because that's the later medieval formulation. So once I started laying out what was actually going on and asked Wagner, well, would you take a look at these papers? And I think you'll see my position. It was like, I don't think he even cares to know what the position is. So I think, around 2022, things started shifting away from more of an intellectual approach to these questions, and it turned more and more to clip farming and trying to get reels out of all this, get shorts, which is partly the fault of, the algorithm and what they're trying to make the internet into, which is annoying, all the TikTok type stuff. But this is really just, it's overall worse off for everyone, because everyone assumes that you're going to be able to have a simple 60-second reel that's going to solve all of your, difficult theological issues. And it's just not, obviously that's retarded, right? Like, if you take Filioque or essence-centered distinction, it took me years of reading thousands of pages before I began to really understand that, the Western model of the triad is the reason why they end up with created grace, and why they end up with absolute divine simplicity in their model with isomorphic reductionism and modal collapse. I mean, it took me many years to get to even understand this whole line of argumentation and discourse. and then many years of reading the Orthodox side of things, Orthodox theologians, apologists, both church fathers, St. Maximus, Photius, Palamos at length, and then getting into modern Orthodox theologians like Larche and Staniloy and Losky and Florovsky. And you cannot do this adequately. You can't do it justice adequately, either for the audience or for yourself, if you just converted a year or two ago. And I get it. Young dudes want to, debate the theology. I was the exact same way in my 20s. But as I would tell myself in my 20s, dude, you don't know anything. You're not at the point yet where you actually get what's going on in these disputes. The only way to really be fruitful in a discussion of these topics is to do the reading. And very few people are going to do the reading. Okay. And I'm not just talking about, did you read the Cappadocians? There's also secondary literature it's just necessary. I'm sorry. Like, I wish it wasn't that way, but it is. If you want to debate those topics, if you want to get into filioque. Now, you don't have to. Nobody's saying you have to be involved in apologetics. Nobody's saying you have to figure out the filioque to know which church is true. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that these guys are interested in that. They're just like me when I was 20, 21, 22, and I did the exact same thing that Jesus and Whatnot's doing. I was a Thomist just like him. Came out, I was Protestant for a while, became Thomist, Catholic after being a Calvinist. I don't know if he was Calvinist, but whatever. And you just don't know how much you don't know yet. It takes a really long time to spend many, many, many years in these materials. And for a lot of those guys, well, what's the point of doing all that when I could just do like a, gotcha in a 30-second, 60-second reel, and then I can build an audience, because nobody's even going to care about reading an 800-page book anyway. Well, that's, again, I get why people do it, and we do reels as well, but we still do long form, hardcore, serious content, and we direct people to the actual reading material. And, I like the Catholic guys that we're still on decent terms with. I don't have personal problems with most of the Catholic dudes that I can think of. But I think what's a disappointment from my vantage point is just that none of the guys have been at all interested in engaging with or reading our material. So if you ask me, as Tim Gordon back in 2020, I listed a whole bunch of things to read before our future debate, and we didn't actually debate until 2025. So there's like 5 years, and Tim never read any of that material. And I get it. You're busy. You've got a lot of kids, but if you want to do the debate and you want to make it a good debate, dude, look, let me show you what I did. Before I debated Jake, I asked Jake for, what do you think needs to be read before we do this debate? Okay. And he said, well, there's a new publication of Ibn Taymiyyah. Okay. Here's this new 300-400 page book on Ibn Taymiyyah and the attributes of God. Okay. I read a shit ton of this thing. Like a 300-400 page book in preparation just for the first Jake debate. Okay. And to Jake's credit, he has an entire stack of Orthodox material. So he took it seriously. But most people, before going into debates, especially in the last several debates we've seen, people are just being super lazy. They get an AI ChatGPT spit out of a few pages, and they think that's preparation for a debate. It's not. Now, even though we all know that this is what debates have become, largely, that they're like entertainment, and we openly admit and say, hey, I'm going to do an entertainment blood sport debate, it's still a pearl clutching exercise. When I did this goofy, I told you guys exactly what was going to happen. I said, this is going to get a lot of views. It's going to be super entertaining.
Reformed.
When the 1 versus 5 comes out, they're all going to get mad and say how mean I was. Even though we agreed to this being essentially a, blood sport style debate, people really had a hard time with this. And if you look at the comments, It's all pearl clutching. Not all of it, I should say. I would say actually the majority of the audience seems to be really liking it. It's already got like almost 70,000 views overnight. Hasn't even been up for 24 hours. This was an agreed upon, basically comedic style debate. Okay, that's all it is. It wasn't serious. The Cholo cheater said at the outset he was bringing his meta glasses. So he did tell everybody he had meta glasses. And I didn't raise a stink at the beginning because I'm like, I'm gonna call it out in the debate. Bring it. If you want to openly try to cheat, go for it. So then he brings the meta glasses on, and I was already dismissive because he did that. Why don't you shake his hand? Because he already admitted he had meta glasses in the opening discussion when James gave everybody the method and the plan of this debate. And then everyone agreed to no holds barred. You can say whatever you want. The rule is though you got to be there in their face for essentially, I don't remember if it was 8 or 9 minutes, whatever it was.